I spoke to Treasurer and Premier Lara Giddings a short time ago. Lara Giddings, thanks for joining us. You've abandoned election promises, jobs are to go, you've ditched concessions, you're capping public sector wages and closing schools. Are you prepared for a significant backlash?
Airlie, this budget is the right thing to do, and it's not been an easy budget. It's been a difficult budget. Difficult decisions have had to be made. But if we didn't make these decisions now, Tasmania would be far worse off in a very short period of time. So this is a choice here that we have. You either grasp the nettle now and make the decisions now, or you put your head in the sand and we soon find ourselves in a crisis, with Tasmania going back to the old days of the 1990s, where we had large amounts of net debt, we were spending money on interest payments, had high unemployment, people leaving the state, and basically gloom and doom.
Well, what is the scenario if these budget measures aren't carried through?
If the budget measures are not carried through, we will find ourselves in net debt and we will find ourselves in a position of going back to those days.
You've been a government minister for a long time. Isn't it time that Labor, and you included, took responsibility for the high levels of spending, some would say pork barrelling, particularly during election campaigns, with the result being, as you yourself have put it, no hay left in the barn?
What we didn't anticipate, and nobody anticipated, was in 2008 the global financial crisis hitting the world. And what we've had to do is work through a period of very uncertain times. And initially, I think people felt that it wasn't as bad as what everybody said it was, and partly because of the economic stimulus funding of the Commonwealth and the states. But now we're seeing nationally, in terms of GST payments, it's falling across the country. And when you lose $1.5 billion of revenue, you know you've got a problem you have to deal with. Now, over the last 2 years since the GFC, it's gone up and down in terms of revenue for the state, and we've had to try to make the right decisions at the time. We've now found that with another $343 million lost just in the last few weeks through the federal budget process that we were told about, that it's even worse than what we anticipated when I released the mid-year financial report in February.
How will this budget improve the health outcomes, though, for Tasmanians? I mean, most indicators have us as the worst in the nation, yet we're looking at unprecedented cuts.
If we don't make those cuts now, Airlie, it'll be far worse in 12 months, 2 years, 3 years' time, and the outcomes for the Tasmanians and their health will be even worse than where it is today. We do have national health reforms being pursued that are putting upon us the efficient price that we must meet. That means we have to find ways to be efficient. We have to find ways to cut costs.
What about education? How will closing 20 schools improve education outcomes for Tasmanian children? They're already poor.
I know that this is one of the tough decisions that a number of communities are going to be very upset about, but it is also an opportunity for us to improve the education environment for students as well. If you have students in a half-empty school, I don't know about you, but walking past empty classrooms is not necessarily a positive environment. If you've got classrooms that or smaller schools that are not able to bring and provide all the options for students as well, it would seem to me that a child has a better education if they're in a larger school environment with more resources and more options, particularly around extracurricular activities.
To put more money in the system, government business enterprises are being asked to, particularly the energy ones, being asked to cough up more. Did you consider selling any off?
In terms of selling off core assets, no, we don't believe it's in the interests of Tasmania to sell off the hydro or Aurora, for instance. However, those companies do have other companies within them or other assets within them, which we are quite prepared, if there is a market for any of those assets, to consider selling. So, for instance, the Tamar Valley Power Station that's within the Aurora ambit, if the right price was there, we may well consider selling that. We did buy it from the private market. We could put it back in the private market, but we're not going to go for a fire sale. Now, the important point here is that one-offs are not going to assist with the structural problem that we've got in the state budget. budget, we've got a deficit of $530 million. That needs to be dealt with on recurrent expenditure. One-off fire sales of assets will not deal with that problem.
Do you accept that this budget, these austerity measures, could be the death knell for your government?
This isn't about a popularity contest, and I suspect that polling will not be good for some time as a result of this budget as well. It's not part of my decision making. My decision making is about saying I'm the responsible person at this point in time. Tasmanians have elected a government to make the right decisions for Tasmania. It doesn't mean they're always the easy decisions. If you did the easy way, we would find ourselves in an absolute crisis in a short period of time. So they are tough decisions, they're strong decisions, they're the right decisions.
We're out of time. Lara Giddings, thank you.
Thank you.